it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is MTD&D Bastards of Bastion, Episode 6, Belly of the Beast. Bastards of Bastion is a dark science fantasy role-playing game set in the world of Harbinger and using the Harbinger rule set. Harbinger is currently in playtest version 0.5 and comes from Absolute Tabletop. If you would like more information about Harbinger, you can go to harbingerrpg.com, where you can find a bit about the lore, some of the character classes and the monsters and the worlds and moons of Harbinger. And you can sign up for the playtest so you can get in on cool games like this. All four of my players here tonight have signed up on that playtest. Some of them playing, some of them are playing for their first time, and some, as Chad mentioned, he's played in games of mine before. He's played in Harbinger games before and has died by my hands. And I've played in a handful of games run by Megan. I think Megan is probably one of my favorite GMs just in general. But when it comes to space horror, especially if you're playing in an astropunk setting, head over to Dice on Ice RPG on YouTube. Or Dice on Ice, sorry. It's just Dice on Ice on YouTube, right, Megan? And check out the... I've forgotten the name of it already. What was the name of the game we played?
Mission 99.
Mission 99. Oh my gosh, that was so fun. Excellent use of sort of astropunk, retro future commercials before each game. Excellent use of music and the players that I got to play alongside of and the relationships and dynamics. And it was a unique spin on Harbinger. So Harbinger, like D&D, is a very versatile system that you can bend to your wills for whatever type of science fiction or dark science fantasy that you want to run. This mini campaign is my own idea of a portion of Harbinger that I wanted to explore. And I asked these four players to join me for the ride for a mini campaign, which we are, depending on the events of tonight and possibly the next game, we are either almost done with or we may be done with. We'll see what happens. But it was always intended to be a mini campaign. So, without much further ado, I would like to introduce you to the players and have each of you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are playing. And I think that we will start with Alexa.
Hello everybody, I am Alexa. I play Queen Gilliani, a trader. And it's been very fun so far, and I'm a little amazed that I survived, because behind the scenes at least, I feel like I've been very close to dying at least a couple of times. But, you know, given the GM's warning just now, that may come to change. So, other than here, you can find me playing story-based games on Twitch, and you can also find me on Twitter. So, I will see you at Blue Alexa. Enjoy the ride with us.
Next up, we'll go over to Dwight.
Hey everybody, Dwight here. You can find me on the internets at bigbeardednerd.com, Twitter at bigbeardednerd, same thing for Instagram. Yeah, I'm playing Fenris Demidar, also a treader, kind of an old. He's a soldier that's got involved in some stuff that led to some dark times in his life, and he wound up in prison. So, and again, yeah, this is my first time playing Harbinger, and I'm really having a good time getting into the role playing with this character and with these characters in this story. So, looking forward to see what happens. And I guess technically Jake's already killed me once in this game. Deus Ex Machina that kept me alive, but again, that's par for the course with me and Jake. So, we'll see what happens.
Next up is Megan.
Hey everyone, I'm Megan. Like Jake mentioned before, I am one half of the YouTube channel Dice on Ice. where we run different kinds of games. We are also a publishing company, and we are releasing our first supplement on July 20th, the Ravaged Wasteland of Cryfoth. So look out on DriveThruRPG for that. Thank you. I'm excited to play today. I'm playing Curse Soriano. She's a really, really fun character, really different than what I've been playing before. So I'm super excited to see what happens.
And finally, Chad.
I'm Chad. I'm a veteran. Played just one game with Jake before this session. Also Harbinger, like you mentioned. I think it was his first TPK ever, and at least online, and I got to be a part of that, so that was fun. Last person standing, fortunately. Anyways, I am excited to get back to playing Orion from the Sept of Isaiah, and he's here because he's done some unsavory things with arson, and there was some lives lost in the process. So here he is. And would you like me to go ahead and go into a recap?
Yes, absolutely. Please fill us in on what has happened in your adventures so far.
So far, or just in the last session recap?
As much or as little as you want.
Okay. Lastly, before landing on this planet or this moon that once was shattered, from what he was told, kind of reformed before them, but he was unconscious during these events. Last he remembered was letting this foolish woman fly the ship that he thought knew better, but now he thinks that maybe he should have just done so himself. But he was kind of tired. So they all crashed onto this moon, and for what we have understood now, have traveled far back in time before the Harbinger ever arrived or anything, and have encountered some tribal-esque Skrugs from obviously long before any of these events. But we've also had some futuristic Skrugs that came back in time and crashed also that we've uncovered, and we ended up lastly doing some errands for this clan or tribe, and went into a very alien, even on this place, a very alien hole and kind of cave that fell from the sky as well. And we went in there to find some reanimated gaunts, I believe they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And they proceeded to attack us, and some of us lost our minds in the process. And we eventually survived that and followed the end of the trail to bring us through some sort of time vortex or wormhole or whatnot. And now we were on back to maybe what was our original present day, maybe further, maybe not quite as much, on board a now futuristic Skrug type craft. I think that's where we were left, on the bridge there.
Absolutely wonderful recap. Thank you, Chad. And as always, take a point of inspiration for the recap. You're probably going to need it. So in the last session, these four former prisoners who are just trying to survive, as Chad mentioned, have journeyed through this tunnel where it appears something crashed on this moon. And after they kind of regained their senses and they began journeying through this area and came to a door that opened into what seems to be present day Harbinger, I would like to go to each of you and tell us what is going through your mind as you walk the length of this tunnel, and by the time you get to this door that Iris has opened, you felt the forces of Astra, which are very familiar to some of you, tangentially familiar maybe, or less so to a couple of the others, but I'll leave that up to you. But you feel this Astra seeming to kind of work within you, giving you new strength and new awareness. Kirst, take us on your journey through this tunnel.
At first, Kirst is alone in total darkness. Her senses seem to be muted as she kind of wanders through, but she has this unexplainable urge to keep walking forward. And in front of her is her... she sees this yellow light. And at first it's very small, but as she kind of gets closer to it, she sees that it's moving and that it has these arms and these... it's forming this humanoid shape. And she sees her husband, Jax, and he doesn't look wounded like the gas was kind of fooling her to think he looked like he did, full of life, and he just kind of smiles at her, and he puts his hand kind of on her shoulder, and he just kind of nods. And he was never someone who spoke too much or was very very sappy in terms of what he said, but he lifts his hands towards her, and there's this sword that is just bathed in this yellow astra, and he just gives it to her, and he just says, "You'll need this." And then with that, he disappears, and she's left in the darkness again, but not for too long, because she sees the end after she keeps walking. And the blade, this yellow astra blade, just kind of is almost absorbed into her hand, but she still feels its presence, and she still feels this new power coursing through her.
As you become more aware of your surroundings, you look over. Who do you see walking next to you?
For the first time, she notices that Quinn has also been walking beside her.
Quinn, take us on your journey down this tunnel.
At this point, Quinn has seen time behaving in unexpected and unexplainable ways one too many times, so the shock has kind of worn off, and instead it's been replaced by a feeling of destiny, maybe. I mean, her almost mystical belief in her duty during her, previous lifetime, so to speak, has now shifted into a sort of mission beyond the grave. Thinking that, well, she survived for a reason, and this is probably it. So, since reality seems to be so shifting and fluid, then might as well take advantage of it. And since she's not sure what's real anymore, then I guess, there is no spoon. Might as well turn it into whatever is required to fulfill this new mission that she doesn't exactly know what the end goal is, but she was a fighter before, and she's finding that calling once again. And as she looks around, and she's kind of seeing this new group to fight besides, and this is helping to give her even more of a purpose.
Who do you see walking near you and Kirst? Who's the first person you notice?
I think it would be probably Isaiah.
Isaiah, what's going through your head? What are you experiencing on your journey down this tunnel?
As they begin to walk, the tunnel gets kind of darker and dimmer as they go, even though his eyes are keen to this kind of environment, being that he was born in the void. And it still gets darker and darker as all light seems to fade. And then all there are walking alongside him are auras. One surrounding Curse is yellow, one surrounding Fenris is red, and Quinn's is kind of dancing from red, the tinge of purple towards the blue. Something different about her. Keeps walking, and the auras seem to pass through him, and him through them, and back and forth. And he realizes that it's just the Astra, the power that's off of these individuals and inside of us, and it's commingling, and he's kind of getting a feeling for it, a sense for it that's something that he's never felt before. And as he's walking through the tunnel, it kind of turns his stomach and kind of makes him lightheaded, and then reality comes and hits him, and he's back to where he was. And there's something inside of him that's burning that he's never felt before.
And finally, walking amongst the rest of you is Fenris. Fenris, take us on your journey down this tunnel.
So as Fenris is walking, it starts off as a tunnel, very quickly turns in his mind to just a dark alley. And he's walking down this alley, and it looks very familiar to him, and he gets there's a sense of dread and familiarity that kind of overcomes him. And he hears noise in the distance and in the direction that he's traveling. And as he kind of walks into an area that's just barely lit, he sees this scene that was the cause of all of his trouble, and he sees the back alley on this moon and these two the bodies of these two children that he was convicted of murdering. And he immediately realizes where he is, but he also immediately notices something's different. He's looking at this from a different perspective than what he saw before. And there's also a third person there. And when he kind of comes into the alley, he first realizes he's going to be seen, but then when this other figure starts to move, it's pretty obvious that they have no idea that Fenris is standing there. And when this figure stands up and turns around, and Fenris catches a glimpse of the face, he recognizes this man immediately as a politician on the moon where he was stationed before he was convicted. And he realizes that this man, it dawns on him, this man must be the person that killed these kids and framed him because he was the first to arrive on the scene. And as he's standing there, he sees himself walking down a different entrance to this alley. And he realizes he's having kind of an out-of-body experience or something, and just seeing exactly what happened. And as he's just kind of stuck and awestruck, and just kind of watching what's going on, nothing makes sense to him anymore. He's just kind of taking it in, and he notices this kind of glowing aura of these kids kind of rise out, kind of look at this ghost-like form, and he sees them standing there next to their bodies, and they look right at him, and they just kind of nod, and then dissipate into nothing. And in that moment, Fenris realizes what it is that he has to do to stay alive. He knows who killed those kids and who he has to murder to avenge them, and that's the sole purpose he had left in life. And then he kind of shakes his head a little bit and realizes he's standing amongst his new friends.
And all of this happens simultaneously for each of you, these very intimate and personal experiences. And you arrive at the door, and the door irises open, and you are met with the scene of what looks like the bridge of a ship. There's 3 or 4 chairs in front of a control panel and a large view screen that fills the most of the wall opposite you. Just to the right edge of that, you can see the edge of the ringed gas giant of Bastion. And filling most of the screen to the left, you see the shattered moon of Verloren, with the length of Harbinger piercing through it. One of the chairs turns, and seated in the chair is a Skrug in full cobbled battle gear. A blaster rifle across his lap as he looks at all of you and says, "Welcome." And the door iris is closed behind you. "You have come at last. I was beginning to fear you would never arrive. Though there are some who say you always do, and others who say sometimes you don't. I am Envoy." And he stands, the blaster rifle in one hand, hanging down low. And then with his left arm, he brings it up across his chest and bows slightly towards you. Do you say anything to him? Does anybody say anything to him?
I'll mimic the gesture. Just and bow slightly to him.
Quinn asks, "Wait, you knew we would be coming? You were expecting us?"
You have been expected for centuries.
To come from where?
From there, of course. And he gestures back to the view screen, where you see, much like behind me, you see the shattered moon of Verloren. You come from the home world, yes. And it's not a question.
Quinn just turns to the others and kind of mutters under her breath, "Well, finally somebody knows what's going on."
Chris would just, in response, just kind of raise her eyebrow. Centuries, eh? That's a long time.
My ancestors were the first to come through the portal into this place. For hundreds of years, we have wandered the immense vastness of this place. Some of us have kept hope and kept the faith. And for every generation, an envoy has been appointed to watch the gate for your arrival. No one remembers who first foretold this, but it is said that you always come, except when you don't. We are on the cusp of something that is beyond our understanding. But it is said that you will set this straight.
Oh, Oh, see, well, we were hoping you could help us set things straight. Right? And she's kind of looking around. I'm not the only one who's confused.
What? Where and when is this exactly? Let's start with the basics.
We don't know its name, but we have come to call it simply the vessel. It's all I have ever known is this place. As for when, we are always here and now. Though the vessel, for centuries, has been in a time of flux. Sometimes it is here. I have seen it 1,000 times pierce through the heart of the homeworld, except when it doesn't. You, it is foretold, are sent by the ancestors. Is this true?
Wait a minute. Are you guys the ones that came before us?
We have come before, hundreds of years. We have existed for hundreds of years after you.
Yeah, but we just left some guys that said that there was some guys that went before us, like right before we went.
The ancestors.
My head hurts.
Quinn looks around. Does this look like they're on Harbinger? Does it look like they're on Harbinger?
Looking out the view screen, you can see, just like when you first escaped from the Harbinger in your own timeline, and you were racing along as you were piloting the escape ship, Quinn. You were racing along the length of Harbinger. You see that same expanse, almost from that same view, ahead of you. You see the length of Harbinger as it pierces through Verloren. It looks, for all intents and purposes, as you would expect it to look from the time you left.
If I glance at the control panels around, do they look similar? I mean, familiar? Do they look like that's maybe the ship that we used to escape Harbinger when our adventure first started?
No roll needed. Nothing looks familiar. It doesn't look like the ship you were on. It doesn't look like any ship you've been on, but the controls do have a familiarity to them. In the sense that if you've piloted any craft or been on the bridge of a craft, you see a lot of similar displays, readouts, and control functions. You can see also kind of along the edges where it almost looks like where some of the electrical components are, there seems to almost be organic cabling attached as well. Things that similar to what you saw when you were on Harbinger before. Are you here to face the darkness of the vessel and to set things on course? Are you here to restore the homeworld? As you're standing there, you hear and several lights begin lighting up on the instrument panel. It's another shift. Brace yourselves. And he throws himself into the chair and spins around so that he's facing out the viewport. And all he does is grab at the harness and pull one portion across him. As you can feel the entirety of what you're standing on, the bridge, begin to... Everything seems to kind of shake with an intensity that seems to be building. Do you find some way to brace yourselves?
Yeah, I'm just gonna grab onto whatever is nearby and assume position.
Yeah, possibly a chair or something if there are some available.
There's still a couple more chairs. There's bulkheads and other things that you can grab hold of. As this whole thing begins to shake, and you feel it vibrating through the chairs, through the floor, through the bulkheads, and then you see as the familiar to your first time, as you were crashing toward Verloren, you see the shattered pieces of Verloren begin to hurl toward the moon. And you see as it appears as though the length of Harbinger in front of you is rapidly drawing backwards away from it. And in just a moment, just the briefest passage of seconds, there's a flash, a tremendous flash of light as Verloren is suddenly whole again. But then it instantly recedes from your view. And you feel just a jolt. And you are staring at a vast, empty blackness of space. The shaking has stopped. Envoy. The shifts are happening with more frequency. This shift is what we call the origin. We think it is where the vessel comes from. Before it shattered our homeworld. We haven't much time to waste. If you are to stop our homeworld from being destroyed, if you are to stop this vessel, you must go deeper into the vessel. You see, if what my ancestors have told me is correct, you came down a dark cave to get here, yes? Did you find a metal door? That you walked through to get here, yes?
Yep.
When you stepped through, you passed through a beacon. In the time shifts, myself and my ancestors have seen this vessel launch the beacon forth through time and space into our world, creating a scar on the homeworld. It is into that scar, through the tunnel and the metal door, that my ancestors passed and found themselves here. We believe that you have been sent to go into the holes of this vessel and destroy that beacon, preventing the vessel from ever piercing the heart of the homeworld. Here, we have been preparing for you for a long time. And he gets up and he walks over towards the left of the view screen where there is a doorway, a door. He presses a series of numbers into a keypad and the door slides open. Inside is about a 10-foot by 10-foot room. Part of it just kind of curves a little bit. And in this room are hanging about a half a dozen suits of different types of armor. You see non-prison issue scout suits. You see a couple of eel skin armor. You see a couple beagle hide armor, and you see a woven steel armor.
Fenris gets a big old goofy grin on his face and just beelines it right for the armor.
Ah, you like it. We have been keeping it for you all these centuries. Anybody looking at the armor can tell all of it looks brand new. Does anybody want to grab armor in particular? It's basically there's the 4 types. There's enough that you guys can each grab what you need of the 4 types that are there. The scout, the eel skin, the beagle, and the woven, according to what your class allows you to wear. So is everybody taking armor?
Yeah, Queen
Yes.
is grabbing some beagle hide armor.
Yeah, I'm grabbing the woven steel.
So there's more than one of each, or
Yes.
Okay. Then Cursed will grab the woven steel.
All right. What about Orion?
Eel skin, please.
All right, go ahead and modify your armor class accordingly. And that you have that armor in your stash, your inventory. And as you are all eagerly grabbing this armor and getting out of your, in some cases, blood-stained, sweat-stained, torn scout suits, except Cursed, I think you were wearing a prison guard scout suit. Still was quite blood splattered. And you are able to get into this armor, which takes you, about 5 or 10 minutes for you to get everything off and get it back on. And as you're kind of finally adjusting straps and hooking things on and clips and just, flexing, and you get that crisp feel from like the gloves, and as it just has that, that creakiness to it of something new, that you're just putting on for the first time. Like, you sense that you are literally the first people to ever wear these suits of armor. Envoy, as you're finishing this up, he kind of grins, and there's a door to the left of him, or behind him, I'll say. I'm going to use cardinal directions again, just to make it easier. So it'd be to the west. You guys came into this. The view screen was facing east. So you went through a door to the north, and now there's a door to the west. He punches in a quick sequence. The door slides open, and you see a room that is only about 10 feet wide, but it's almost 20 feet long. There is a counter along the south wall, and along the north wall, and even where it curves, you see nothing but gleaming steel of brand new weapons, rifles, pistols, swords, spears, axes, scatterguns, light repeaters, glaives, war blades, heavy pistols, heavy repeaters. On the south wall where the counters are and cupboards, there are angled shelves with modifications and equipment all lining the shelves. I would like anybody who would like to, if you think your character would care about this, make a history check.
I failed.
Or if it does better for you or you'd like to, I would allow a technology check as well, a tech check. Go ahead and say the chat's way over to my side and I can't quite see it.
I got a 16, or Chris got a 16 on history.
11.
How about Orion?
I'm gonna let them take this one.
All right. Cursed. I mean, obviously, Fenris and Quinn, you recognize these are brand new weapons. They still have that light coat of oil on them. All of the actions are smooth. The blades are sharp. There is no sign of wear of any kind on these weapons. Cursed, as you're kind of looking through these and you know, maybe just kind of as everybody's eyes, like kids in the candy store, if you will, just looking at everything, you recognize, and you can tell me how you know this, these are Old Dominion. This is all Old Dominion weaponry. This is ancient technology that appears brand new. How do you know that?
Cursed has stolen many things, and she likes to pride herself in knowing a bit about the things that she is stealing. And I think that one of her heists would have been from some old armory or bunker or something that one of the moons had kept. I don't think that guns would have been their main thing that they were going for, but as the person who kind of figures out what's in there, and you know, I think they probably nabbed a couple, and so I think that's how she would recognize them.
Do you mention this to anyone?
I think she would just make the passing comment, wow, these are old. Very, very old. And she's kind of looking at all of this armor and all of these weapons, and she kind of looks back at the Skrug and she just says, what are you thinking is down there or down in these ships for all of this? I mean, don't get me wrong, this is great, but usually this doesn't mean, you know, there's nothing or down there.
This is what we know. We don't think. We definitely know, for we have all faced it for hundreds of years. There are dark and ancient terrors that reside in the deeper portions of this vessel. We believe that the vessel itself is an amalgamation of every time, of every place the vessel has ever gone. All of this technology and these weapons and this armor, it all looks familiar and comfortable to you, yes? Because... Go ahead.
He said, oh yeah. So, he's like petting the warhammer that he just picked up.
Yeah, and you guys basically, if it's in the armor section or weapon, whatever, go ahead and mark down what you've taken, what mods you've put on there, and as those things come into play, just use, incorporate it narratively, so I get to see as well what you guys take. Envoy just says, because the ancestors have told you, and the envoys before me have told us a little about you and what to expect. We knew to gather those things that were familiar to you. But there are technologies in this vessel that belong to races that are more ancient than anything we've ever known, and even things that may not yet exist in your timeline. We believe that the vessel has been traveling through time and space, encasing itself in all that it finds, remnants of every civilization. But one constant remains. The deeper into the vessel you go, the deeper into darkness and madness you will descend.
As Quinn is picking up she's looking over the weapons and the equipment, and she's picking them up. She turns towards Envoy and asks, "Where did these come from?" And then kind of turns toward her companions and says, "This is Dominion. This is all Dominion equipment. I've only ever seen these in our history lessons at the academy. I've never seen any of them that ever looked this new before, ever. Nobody has."
We have been collecting them for centuries. There was a portion of the vessel that appeared to be made up of some supply vessel, perhaps for a war that was fought long ago, or perhaps for a war that will be fought centuries from now. It was at great peril, and many lives were lost to bring these here to the entry point. And it has taken more than 100 years to amass this collection. But it looks like it was worth it. And he moves towards the southwest wall where there's another door. He says, "Have you taken all that you can, all that you think you will need?" He punches in another code, and another door opens. And you kind of get the sense now from where you started and went through to the room with the armor, and then to the room with the weapons, and now the room you're in, which is similarly sized and shaped to the room you just came from, that you've been moving around almost like in a circle. And if that's the case, you are actually standing on the other side of the bulkhead of where you landed or entered on that bridge. There is, in this area, it looks like a cross between a nest and a really, really lived-in apartment. You can see a bunk that the sheets and blankets are kind of pushed aside like it's been slept in recently. There's various lockers. There's a couple selection of weapons, of blades and of melee weapons and energy weapons. And the whole wall, eastern wall, has graffiti like drawings all across it that always depict four, just silhouettes, but four humanoid figures standing in front of two spheres, one of which is whole and one of which has a big section of it missing with sections kind of dotted around it. And this is drawn in both large and small scale across this wall, all over it. The closer you look, you can even see that it looks like some of the drawings are newer and have been drawn over older depictions of this same thing. To the west is another door. The envoy just keeps looking at it and looking at you. I'm not going to lie. I am excited beyond all measure and accounting to be the one chosen to greet you and to usher you forth into the vessel in the hopes that you will save our homeworld. But I fear as well what lies beyond that door. When you journey deeper, you will be faced with three choices. You can travel straight ahead, which will take you deeper into the vessel, way deeper into the vessel. If you turn to the left, or you turn to the right, you will find your choices laid out before you. It is our belief that to the right, that is the way that will lead to the breath collection system, as we call it. We believe if this is overloaded, it will cause a feedback loop through this vessel back to the beacon and destroy it, preventing it from ever sending the vessel to destroy our world. If you go in the other direction, it is possible that this vessel, this portion of the vessel you are in now, could be detached, and we could leave the greater vessel and go wherever it may take us, or you. The choices you make are entirely up to you. I cannot journey beyond this door. This portion of the vessel is shielded for during the time phase shifts. Beyond, you will be susceptible to the full influence of the vessel. And then he turns and he looks at the wall where these drawings are. And he says, I and those who have gone before me, who have waited for you, place our faith and our trust in you, just as the ancestors did in sending you here. And he punches a set of keys, a set of numbers into the keypad. The door opens into what looks like a 10-foot by 10-foot airlock. And he just stands looking at you.
Quinn kind of looks around and says, well, I want to say that there's no time like the present, but clearly We've been proven wrong a couple of times. But I guess maybe we should decide which direction to go in first and then just go for it. Because I don't know about you, but I'm sick of this place. And looks around at the ship trying to, not offend the envoy and his ancestors.
Yeah, no, I'm tired of getting thrown forward, backward in time. Let's just go and meet whatever this darkness is.
Yeah, not much one for thinking. I got things to do when we get out of here, so y'all just point me where you want me, and I'll smash stuff.
I guess this is what we came here for. One way to see how it goes.
So do you step into the airlock then? As you step into the airlock, the four of you, into this 10-foot by 10-foot area, the envoy turns and looks at you once more. He holds his left arm up across his chest and he bows towards you. And he holds the bow, his three eyes looking at you.
Fenris will repeat the gesture again.
Curse just gives like a little mock salute and just smiles and just, thanks for the stuff.
Quinn just nods in acknowledgement and turns to look at the corridor and the paths ahead.
I'll be expecting a feast when we return.
He reaches up, he presses a button, and the door closes behind you. You are sealed in a 10-foot by 10-foot area. You hear and then the door opposite you to the west opens. You see this next area that you can see looking out is about 60 feet in diameter. It seems to be like a hub of sorts. And as you look, even just looking into it from the airlock, you can see that passages continue on straight ahead to the west, another passage to the right to the north, and another passage to the left to the south. Each one of them has an airlock door in front of it. And as I assume you walk out into this area. As
Curse
you
would
look,
just kind of,
yep,
sorry.
go ahead.
Just Curse would just kind of look at the others and just, well, I guess we have our decision. This was quick.
I'm thinking that I don't really want to go deeper and deeper into this place. I'm thinking maybe we should try and destroy it remotely using that collection thing.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Seems easy enough.
Heh. I hope you're not wrong.
And you would remember that Envoy had said that was to the right, which would be to the north. Give me, everybody give me a perception check.
16.
I got a 17.
6.
What was that, Chad?
17.
Everybody but Fenris, you can kind of hear... You hear something from the airlock to the west, across the room, straight across from where you came from. The direction that Envoy indicated went deeper into the ship. And as you become aware that there's sound faintly coming from that side of the door, then Fenris, even you can hear the sound as something heavy slams into the airlock door.
Is there anything in this room that we could use to block the door, like crates or machinery or anything of the sort?
There's nothing loose in this room. The door didn't move at all, and it sounded kind of almost muffled and distant, whatever was hitting it. Just enough to give you the sense that whatever airlock mechanism may or may not have been on the other side, not is probably more accurate. You don't hear any sounds coming from the south or the north.
I guess that's our cue to kind of pick it up. Pick up the pace, I mean.
Yep, I'll just lead off, heading north.
An alarm begins blaring throughout the halls, and the lights shift to a red hue and begin flashing in time with the alarm. It's the same alarm sound you heard when the vessel shifted backwards or whatever direction in time it went. You have no viewports where you are now, but the ship begins to shake. And then there's a sudden lurch. And as it lurches, you simultaneously hear the alarm kind of almost wind out, like a couple of panels kind of break loose. Wires are hanging loose from these panels. You see from certain areas, like steam or some gases are venting. There's from somewhere deeper in the ship, you can hear muffled explosions. And you can clearly see all around you that the hulls of this vessel that looked so new and pristine now look aged, rusted, some portions of the bulkheads rusting through. It appears your ship has shifted. Where would you like to go?
We're heading north down that corridor towards the...
There's another airlock door there with a control panel in front of it.
Are there any other branches, or is it just the door going in that direction?
Door north, door south, door west. North is the breath collection system, as Envoy said. South is the possibility of detaching. West is deeper into the vessel.
Yeah, we want to go north then. I'll just continue. I'll head to that airlock.
All right. It's a simple enough matter to remember the key code that Envoy punched in. If it's simple enough for Fenris to see that code. Maybe it's simpler for somebody else. I don't know.
He would have paid attention to that kind of thing. So
All right. As you punch in the code, it seems to take a minute, and you can hear this kind of as the airlock door moves about halfway open and stops. And you can see that there's flashing lights on the other side, and the other airlock door 10 feet further down is bent inward, and as if something heavy hit it from the far side, and it's partially open. And you're the only one that can see this right now, Fenris.
So you said it looks like something has.
It looks like something heavy hit it.
Okay. Got some big stuff down here, guys. Keep an eye out. And just continue on through.
All right. Is everybody following?
Yeah, and Quinn kind of takes point behind them, looking around to make sure that nothing attacks us from behind or something.
Yeah, Curse would like to stay somewhere in the middle, so she is not the first or the last person.
So, as you all begin to move into this area, immediately on the other side of the door is a passageway that is about 10 feet long, but opens up into a much wider, kind of irregularly shaped room. There are, around the edges, various workstations. There's blank view screens. There's a lot of instrument panels and things like that, and then there's a couple of doors on the east wall leading into other areas. But you can't really see. You can see that this room opens up into an area that's probably about maybe 40 feet across, and it opens up to the left more, but from where you're at, until you get into the room further, you won't be able to see what's around the edge. How are you proceeding?
I mean, I'm just going to continue.
Yeah, it looks like there's a question about hit points and stuff. Everybody should be at full. With everything that happened, whether you took a rest or not, you feel great. So I'm actually thinking, I should have thought of this ahead of time, but I'm thinking I might be able to share a portion of this so you can see the layout of what you're dealing with. Let me try this real quick and see if it'll let me do this, because this will make it easier for you to be tactical. Let's try window capture, and that's going to be nope, it is not allowing it. Okay, that didn't work. The whole screen went blank for a minute. Let me try one more thing real quick while you guys figure out your tactics. You have a 10-foot hallway, and then the room opens up to the left in a way that you can't see.
So I will make my way to the edge of that where it opens up to the left, and just kind of press up against the wall and peek around the corner to see what's over there.
You can see an open area with some circular tables. One or two of them are knocked over. There's some chairs that have been knocked over. And you can actually glimpse a large view screen that looks to the outside. Beyond it is the blackness of space with just a few distant pinpoints of light. I'm going to try one more thing. I think I just screwed this. Alright. Okay. We're not going to mess with this. I thought I could share that more easily with you, and it's just not allowing me to do that. So, yeah, so you can see the space kind of opens up. It's more or less the left half of a giant circle, but there's this piece, this hallway, so that's kind of jutting out. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
as you see these tables kind of tipped over and the view screen, you can just real quick, you get a actually give me are you just poking your head out, or are you prolonging your check?
I'm trying to get an idea of what's in the area without exposing myself.
Give me a perception or investigation.
20, not natural.
So you can see that there is a a door immediately on the south wall, kind of around the corner. I can't share the image with you in chat because there's other information on this that I was hoping to crop out that would give some things away. So yeah, there's basically a closed door around the corner from you. We'll just get past the image thing. I don't want to get distracted by that. I'll just get better at describing things.
So I will, I'll turn to Quinn and signal, military hand signals to keep me covered as I kind of move into the room a little bit. Now, did that hall continue on, or does it end here?
It ends right where you were peering around the corner and opens up into the room proper.
Okay, so the only other place to go is to this door. Then.
There's that door immediately to your left, but there were also two doors, one just a little bit ahead and to your right, and one about 20 feet further ahead and to your right.
Okay.
This room looks like the best way that I could describe what you're seeing is what looks like an aged, kind of decrepit, picture like a student center where you have a combination of like a cafeteria-like area, a common area, and workstations where people might be working on computers or glancers or whatever. That's kind of the bulk of what this area looks like, though it looks very ancient.
So Fenris is going to turn to the group, look, my instincts tell me we need to clear these rooms. I really don't want stuff sneaking up on us as we move through this hall. I'm also kind of hesitant to pick fights. We don't need to. So, what do y'all think? Check these doors or just keep moving?
One seven. I, for one, not a fan of surprises, especially the kind the Harbinger do.
Are these doors also controlled by, they have control panels, or are they more traditional?
The door that's immediately to the left on the south wall does not have a control panel, It has it looks like it slides into the wall, but it has like a recess, like you would handle, like you'd put your hand in and just slide it. But the two doors on the east wall both look like they have control panels.
All right, so I'm just going to walk up to this door and just kind of quick slide it open. I've got my scatter gun. I've got a sawed-off scatter gun that I'm holding on to at this point. So I'll keep it drawn with one hand and then just use my left hand to open the door and see what's in this room.
As you slide the door open, I want you to make a dexterity check. In fact, I'm going to call it a dexterity saving throw.
21.
You will be able to get one action off as you slide the door open and you see the desiccated skeletal corpse, humanoid corpse, lurch forward out of the room towards you. What do you do?
I fire my double-barreled sawed-off shotgun into its face.
I'm not even going to make you roll.
Okay.
There's an explosion as you fire your gun. You blow the head off of this skeletal creature, and the remains of it collapse around you. And beyond it, you can see, as this thing falls to the ground, you can see a half a dozen more humanoid skeletal creatures holding one another, huddled in the back of the room. A couple of them are small and child-sized. It appears that when you open the door, whatever this was in here, whatever forced these people in here, the one skeleton was leaning against the door and basically fell out on you. But you killed it. Or stopped it from falling on you worse. This appears to be a very small utility closet. And it looks, by the position of these skeletons, like they were taking shelter in here long ago from something.
So, kill the dead thing. Should we, let's just go. I start to walk away, kind of head down.
Are you sure? I think there's other dead things in here that might need killing again.
Haha.
Should we maybe try and destroy the control panels? I'm not sure how intelligent whatever is chasing us would be. I don't know if they would be using doors the proper way, but maybe it would help. Unless we want to make a quick getaway using those very same doors eventually.
You only see, besides this door, you only see the two doors on the east wall and the door you came through. There's no other exits out of this room.
Are there any writings on the wall, or you know how on ships you have directions kind of depicted in a way that you know which area you're in, which areas are neighboring the area you're currently in, or can we kind of
give me an investigation check. You're kind of looking around, scanning the walls, and you can just make out the faint tracings of very illegible signs that may have said what this area was. There's a couple arrows pointing in different directions. The lettering is both badly aged to where it's almost unintelligible, but also in a language you don't understand. And you can see a little clearer a couple of signs on each of the doors on the east wall.
We need to pick a door, and I mean, can any of you read or understand any of this? Can we see what's on the doors?
Anybody can attempt a I'll say you can attempt a history check.
Nat 20.
Fenris, you look at these doors and you're not entirely sure how, but actually, as far as you know, these are written in plain old basic or common. I'm not sure what they call it in Harbinger. I don't know if I've seen that. Is it just called common? I don't remember from the language proficiencies, but yeah, we'll just call it common. I think basic is Star Wars. So in common, you can see that the southernmost door on the east wall reads mainframe, and the northernmost door reads Astrobanks.
I kind of look at everybody. I'm like, mainframe, Astrobanks. Like, I don't understand why they don't see it.
That's amazing. How looks like there's more than just pointing and shooting, as you said.
So, what are you going to do?
We want to shut this down. Wouldn't that be at the mainframe?
What does breath collection system, what would this be? I feel like I'm not sure if Quinn would know this, but every time we've had that Breath of the Wild thing engulf us, it was pretty much kind of like Astra, right?
Yep.
What if it's the Astra Banks? I honestly don't know. I'm just putting it out there.
At the same time.
Astrobanks it is.
The alarms begin going off again. The vessel shudders. And there's that now what is becoming familiar in lurch. And there's an almost blinding white light that is suddenly filling the space that was previously lit by red emergency lights, as suddenly everything is illuminated in the full blare of the overhead lights. All around the room, what was worn bulkheads and difficult to read looks as though it's a relatively new ship, freshly labeled walls. The tables are all sitting upright. And over by that door, where you're all still kind of standing near, so right at your feet, Fenris, blood is splattered all along the wall. There's a headless corpse lying at your feet. And there are the figures that were previously dead skeletons huddled in the corner. are dead, but they have flesh and clothing and look recently dead. Blood smeared along the wall, as they're all huddled in this utility closet. And it appears you have shifted once again.
Fenris just kind of like kicks around at the corpse at his feet, just trying to get it away from him, and hell, let's get out of here. He starts heading to the astrobank door.
Yeah, let's hope whatever did that to them is not in this timeline. Or we jump before it comes. And Curse would just kind of follow closely after Fenris.
Quinn looks at Orion and gestures after you.
Yeah.
Orion and Quinn, give me perception checks.
I got a 12.
Chad?
7.
Okay. So Quinn gestures to Orion to go ahead, and he's like, yeah. And Quinn, just as you start to turn your head, you see movement inside the closet. And you see the two smaller of these figures that were child-sized moving.
I immediately call out to everyone, and Quinn yells, they're alive and they're moving. Maybe we should go faster so as not to kill children again.
Fenris turns around and, did you say there's children? And he heads back to the door.
I mean, it
And
looks
looks-
like children.
He'll kind of kneel down and look inside the room and see what's going on in there.
You see the two children, just like you did previously, when they were skeletal, kind of huddled in against a couple of larger humanoids, and they seem to be moving and kind of pulling themselves away from the humanoids. You can't quite see their faces as they're pushing away, and they start to turn, and one of them turns towards you, Fenris, and as it turns its head, you can see where it looks like a gunshot went right through the right eye and temple into the head. As it turns to look towards you, and you can hear the cracking of the bones in its neck. And I need you all to roll for initiative.
Got a 20.
20. Fenris?
Behind you.
What? What'd you get, Orion?
19?
Fenris and Quinn?
Fenris is a 10.
Natural 20, 22 total.
All right. And let me roll for these children and whatever else you have here. So that is... It kind of... It kind of works out, Fenris, that you're going last. That you seem... What is it that's going through Fenris's head that's causing him to react slowly as these kids, apparently undead children, are turning towards him?
Oh, he knows without a doubt that these things need to die, but the fact that they're children, it's just really he's really caught on that, and it just grants a moment of hesitation where he's not about killing children, so it's going to take him a second to process exactly what's happening before he can react to it.
So it's going to be Quinn who has the first go. As what you actually see before you are two child-sized gaunts and two adult-sized gaunts that haven't yet risen.
Quinn doesn't know Fenris's story, but she did kind of figure out that this was like a family and those were children. Especially now that they're no longer just desiccated bodies, but they're fleshier. So has she ever, in her experience with gaunts, has she ever encountered a non-aggressive gaunt?
Absolutely not.
So
Gaunts, in your experience, gaunts are always feral. And
so it's
always
pretty cut and
attack.
dry.
Yep.
Okay, so she would be behind Fenris, I guess, because I think Fenris kind of pushed past her to kneel next to the smaller figures. So she would kind of be behind him, and this is in pretty close quarters. It's a pretty small space.
Yep.
So she would pull out her heavy pistol and aim at the figure next to the smaller figure, but that is not immediately in front of Fenris.
So you're aiming at one of the child-sized gaunts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're closer to Fenris.
Go ahead and take your shot.
Okay, that's gonna be with advantage because it's my first turn and they haven't acted yet. Oh, that's great because I rolled a natural 1 on my first. So that's gonna be 15 to hit.
That is going to hit.
And that's where's that's a 5 damage from the heavy pistol. 5 piercing damage.
You take a shot and it blasts into this child-sized gaunt's chest. And you see as blood begins to blossom across its jumpsuit. It's not even really wearing even a scout suit or spacesuit of any kind. It just seems to be some kind of a jumpsuit. Whatever these gaunts, whatever killed them in this version of the timeline you're in, they seem to have been recently deceased, as they still have blood flowing or pooled in their bodies. Any other attacks?
Because I just remembered. Yeah, as a second attack, I will do the same, shoot the same target. So that's better. 22 to hit. I suppose that
Yep.
goes through. Another 5.
You blast it 2 shots in quick succession. Just you can now see where the tattered remains of this jumpsuit are splayed apart like some kind of grotesque flower blossoming in red as blood is spilling out, and you can see bone shards sticking out of it, but it continues to attempt to rise.
She will then take a knee so that whoever is behind her can have a clearer shot, but that in a way that she doesn't allow any gaunt to actually exit the closet, the room.
Cursed.
How far away did you say they were from the entrance of this room?
They're within 5 feet of the entrance. They're huddled up against the back wall. This is really small space.
Okay. So Curse is going to kind of jog back. She just kind of sighs. They were kind of running away from this, but I guess it's better than having something pursuing them. So she kind of jogs back around and she looks and she sees the children. She just kind of sighs and she's, children, always the creepiest. And she's going to, all of a sudden, these yellow tendrils kind of come shooting out from her hand and grabs one of the children, and it has to make a dexterity saving throw or be pulled.
Which one? The one that was just shot twice, or the one that hasn't been injured yet?
The one that hasn't been injured.
All right, that's a dex save.
Yes.
That is a 11.
So that's a fail. So this child is just getting pulled towards Curse, and at the same time, in Curse's other hand, you see her grip what looks to be nothing but thin air, but slowly this yellow glow kind of begins, and this long sword comes out from her hand, and as she's pulling this child in, she's just going to try and skewer it. So that's a 14 to hit.
That hits.
For 5 damage.
So the child that had turned with the bullet hole through its head toward Fenris is suddenly pulled forward and skewered. Are you basically like reaching through your friends, or kind of pulling this child between them out into the room?
Yeah, between them, just kind of close to her as she can, so that she has she can skewer it and kind of free up that area as well.
Excellent. Yeah, as this child goes shooting past, gets kind of pulled past Quinn and Fenris out into the room, and immediately is skewered. This undead child-sized gaunt Orion, that's what you see as it's your turn.
How much room do I have to be able to try and have a line of sight type of attack?
I think Quinn took a knee, and I think Fenris may have kind of crouched down as well. So you can see over them into the room where there's still one of these child-sized gaunts and two adult-sized.
Can I tell? I know that she shot the one twice. I think he'd probably be coming up after that kind of happened. So would I be able to see if anyone's more worse for wear than the other or anything like that?
The one that's been shot twice looks pretty bad. The two adult ones haven't even been touched yet.
Okay, I'm going to cast Astral Bolt, and I am going to push it in order to attack all three of them. I have to get a separate attack roll for each one. So we'll start with the wounded baby, youngster.
I just want to say, to clarify, that it does feel slightly uncomfortable, all of this talk of attacking children, and so I want to clarify that they are undead children that are trying to hurt you.
That's a 15.
That hits.
I'll take it. 8. All right. That is 1 damage for that one.
1 damage?
Oh, yeah. Force type if it matters. The next hit is a 16.
Are you targeting the same one or all three of them?
All three of them.
Okay. Yep. So that is a hit.
All right. 3 force damage on that one.
All right.
And only a 10 on the last one.
Yes, you after you hit the first two, that third shot just kind of impacts the wall in the back. I would like... How far out were you when you made these shots? Are you like just leaning in, or?
I'd say I'd probably be trying to use this like doorway and the crouch person to try to kind of put them in between me at the moment.
So it's all pretty jammed up in the doorway here. Kirst is kind of back into the room. Kirst, give me a perception check. The other three, you can give me perception checks at disadvantage.
I got a natural 20 on that.
All right.
A total of 20.
Quinn got a 1, a 5 for Orion, and an 18 for Fenris. So, Kirst, you hear it behind you. The sound, that sound of that a table with metal feet makes when it's moved across the tile floor. But when it's pushed suddenly and rapidly behind you, you hear this sound about 20 feet. And you also hear this kind of scraping sound. Fenris, you can hear this coming from the room behind you. And as you turn, Kirst, just looking over your shoulder, you see another gaunt, this one tall and thin. And it, you see that it has, it's bulkier than the others. And you can see that it almost seems to have grown a bone-hardened carapace over its shoulders and chest, like it's formed an exoskeleton of sorts. And as it has just shoved one of the tables aside, and then it shoves another table aside, you hear this as it holds its hand up, and from its forearm, in much the way you did with Astra, you grip this Astra sword, you see a bone blade extend out from its arm, and it presses the blade into the ground as it's in a 3-point stance, and it lunges towards you, Kirst, and it is going to attack you. And it is going to make 2 attacks with this blade at you as it crosses in just a couple quick strides, raising this blade up. It swipes at you. The first one, the blade comes swiping over your head. Its second attack comes in. What's your AC?
So I think Curse is going to take her reaction to cast this kind of yellow shield. Bonus action and reaction are 2 different things, right?
Correct.
Okay, so yeah, she's going to take her reaction, so that increases her AC to 20 for just the one attack.
So what does a shield look like as you just reactively emplace it?
I can imagine that she's kind of holding this child, and she kind of hears this sound. She hears this. She feels the air on her body, and she just kind of quickly turns, without even thinking, with her arm up, and along her forearm is this yellow, just almost ethereal shield that just comes up. And as the gaunt hits it, you can see that this explosion of yellow Astra just comes from the hit point of the shield.
Yeah, and it was just like a slash, and it's as you form it and kind of bring it up, it just and it just hisses at you. And at the same time, so the Twitch shield, is that directional, or is it generally just kind of goes through you and boosts your AC, right?
Yeah, it just reflects incoming attack.
There's another surge as the skewered child-sized gaunt that you have and kind of before you that you were already engaged with tries to slash at you with claws and encounter this shield, and there's another shower of sparks. Inside the closet, the other child lunges at Fenris. These dice are working in your guys' favor, not doing jack for me tonight. And it seems to be caught up in, still entangled in that defensive embrace from when it died. And it just slashes at the air in front of you, Fenris. And it's kind of knocked aside. Doesn't really fall down, but it's knocked aside as the two adult-sized ones rise up. And one is going to attack Fenris, and one is going to attack Quinn, who's in that doorway. Fenris, the other one, you're able to instinctively block its attack. And that was almost a crit against you, Quinn. It rolled back over to a 14, which is going to be a 17 to hit. What is your AC now?
That is exactly 17, so I guess it hits.
So this one, and as its claws are swiping towards you, and this is one of the adult-sized one, you see this kind of like just quick tendrils of Astra seem to kind of draw from the air around it, and there's just a zoom as it surges Astra into its strike and hits into you. And it is going to do... no, you do not have that buff. That was from the breath before you passed through.
So I don't?
Chad was just asking that in the chat. The +2 buff that you guys had, you don't have anymore. Sorry, I should have clarified that.
Okay, so I mean that still hits clearly, but
Yeah.
just going forward.
Well, this is where you find out. As you get hit, you realize you're no longer buffed like you thought you were. Where is my damage die? Okay, and that increases additional 1d4. So the claw strikes you, Quinn, dealing 3 points of slashing damage, but it hits with such a force that you take an additional 2 force damage as it slams into you. And that is going to loop us back around to Quinn.
Do I not get to go?
Oh, wait, where were you? Oh, you're last. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, you finally get to go, Fenris. You kind of snap out of it.
So, as all this has been going on, Fenris has been kind of struggling with what he saw, but he kind of, after the attacks start flying, he gets back up to his feet, and just kind of sighs, and this kind of like cold, steely resolve kind of settles over his face. And he just two-hand grabs his warhammer and just swings right at the skull of this small one. And let's see. That is a 16.
That is a hit.
Okay. And that does 12 points of damage.
What does it look like when you kill this?
It's like that scene in Braveheart when they just like smash the dude's face with the mace, except it's a warhammer.
And against a child.
Yeah, but that also triggers my Marauder ability. If I reduce an enemy to 0, I can attack again.
Yep,
So
you've got 2 more adult-sized ones in this
I'm
closet.
gonna immediately turn to just the one to my left and swing hard, two-handed, and that is going to be a 20, not natural.
Hit. We call those dirty 20s.
Yeah. And that's going to be 12 points of damage.
All right. and you slam that one back against the wall. You hear bones breaking. You even see what looks like ribs piercing through its chest. And it's just holding on to what it has.
And as a bonus action, I'm going to trigger my shield projector mod on the hammer. So I just kind of reach up and I punch the side of the hammer where I have a switch installed, and it this blue Astra field surrounds me, emanating from the hammer. It grants me 2 more AC.
All right. Now we're back to the top of the order. And Quinn, you've got one of these adult-sized ones engaged with you.
Okay, first of all, a question and then a clarification. The question is, if I want to switch weapons, would that be a bonus action or a full action?
I call those interactions.
Okay. So
generally speaking, it depends. I mean, if you're, what were you using initially?
So I fired the heavy pistol, and I wanted to switch to short blades, 2 of them.
You would have to, in order to do it in the turn without burning an action, you would have to just drop the gun, and then you can draw the blade. The interaction is basically holstering or unholstering. So in this case, you'd be able to just drop the gun freely and draw the blade, and that counts as part of your... It's an interaction. It doesn't take your action away.
Okay. And the clarification is that in the heat of the moment, I got confused between all of my characters, and I do not have a second attack, but I did attack twice on my previous turn. So if
we'll chalk that up to influence by Harbinger itself.
Okay, because I was gonna say that I can just use my turn this time to switch weapons and not attack to make up for the...
Nope, that's fine. Go ahead and attack as you normally would.
Okay.
I was trying to keep track of everything. I did realize, I thought about that I thought it was odd you were attacking twice, and then I didn't ask about it. So, nope.
Yeah.
It's the influence of Harbinger granted you an extra attack.
Yeah, technically I could have used action surge, but that's like a pretty precious resource. So I preferred to just forfeit my attack this turn, to make up for it. But in that case, seeing this close up, close up attack, Quinn would, as you said, drop the gun and just reach back and pull the blades at the same time, and kind of try and slash.
Yeah, you actually would you not be able to pull both blades?
I guess they are finesse weapons, huh?
Yeah, I think because they're short blades, right?
Yes, they're short
yeah.
blades.
I'm going to allow it. I'm going to allow it.
I could just attack with the main blade if for the action economy.
I'm going to say let's just stick with the one blade, because I think Chad's right. So you would be able to pull one blade this round. Then you can freely pull the other blade next round.
I looked over dual wielding, and it says that I may only draw or store one of the weapons each turn. So I guess I could only be able to pull. I could only... Depends on the GM's call. That's why I asked if it's an action or a bonus action to switch weapons. So I'm just gonna pull the one blade this turn, and then the other next turn.
Yeah, this is a play test, so it's good to have these kind of questions. So just the one weapon then.
Terrible. That's a 10 to hit.
You're kind of fumbling with the with the pistol, and ultimately drop it, and you're trying to draw both blades, and you can only get one blade out, and whatever that influence of Harbinger that allowed you to attack so quickly, it seems to kind of be staying your hand now. It's maybe the balance of fates, as your blade just clashes into the frame of this door.
I am just not living up to my history, either as a pilot or a warrior.
You've had some pretty traumatic experiences recently. Cursed, you got a child-sized gaunt on the end of your blade, and you've got a bone blade at your back.
Cursed doesn't like to be sandwiched in between two enemies, and so she is going to envelop herself in this yellow ethereal astra and just kind of disappear from the where she is, and kind of reappear 20 feet down the corridor. That also puts her above her fate limit.
Ooh, how far over are you?
2. So that's tier 1.
So you'll be rolling on tier 1.
I do have it up, so...
Yeah, I'm just trying to see.
Yeah.
As well. There we go. All right. So, what do you got?
So I rolled a 2. So... Which one is that? That's...
Works in your favor.
Oh, okay. So...
You regain 1d4 hit points if you've lost any.
I have not yet. So, yeah, but she just kind of blinks away, and she's 20 feet.
So you went down the corridor that you guys originally came through? Okay.
Yeah. Or in the direction that they were originally heading.
All right, that would put you into the room. If you put yourself in the corridor, you've put yourself in a bottleneck.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to clarify, because that didn't seem like something you would do, but I wanted to be sure.
Yeah,
so, so you move further back into the room. Give me a perception check.
Okay. That's a 9.
Okay. And that was your action to void slip?
It's a bonus action.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think she's gonna do anything else. So.
All right, that's gonna take us to Orion.
I would like to see, because it doesn't really specify, but if I used grav shift, I can pick up an item up to 10 pounds. A heavy pistol is only 5 pounds. Would I then be able to use grav shift to pull the trigger?
Let's see. Use your mastery of Astra to manipulate gravity moving nearby objects. For the duration of the spell, you can use an action to manipulate a single object. Within 30 feet of you, you can lift and move objects. Open or close hatches. You cannot lift more than 10 pounds. And you cannot use it to directly attack an enemy. I mean, that last clause there kind of eliminates that, but it's not a telekinesis. You can pick it up and you can kind of move it around, but you wouldn't have such fine control to be able to pull the trigger.
Okay, then I am going to instead. There are still 3 targets? Or just 2 adults?
Inside the closet are 2 adults. Now, outside behind you is a bone blade and a child size.
Okay.
A fun size gaunt.
Okay, and then that's like right up on us, right? Those 2 that are behind us, because they were already attacking first.
They are, the bone blade's about 10 feet behind you. The child size gaunt is almost directly behind you.
How large is the walkway that we're in, that they're in also? Wide.
You're kind of in an open room.
Okay. Alright then. I would like to Astra Bolt and hit 3 of them, and also that's 1 push, and I'm going to do another push to increase the damage to 2d8. So I'm going to go up 2 in my Astra hit. Pushing it. And I'm gonna go for the 2 in the hallway and try also for an adult in the room. So I will start with the adolescent one. That's a natural 1. I am going to use my point of inspiration.
All right.
For 14.
That's going to hit. Are you just boosting it the 1? Or were you boosting it all the way?
I boosted it twice. The 2d8 and they attack 3 of them.
Okay.
And that was 10 damage on the first one.
And that was the child-sized one?
Yes, sir.
That child-sized gaunt disintegrates.
Excellent.
As your Astral Bolt hits it. So you've got the Bone Blade in the open, and 2 adult size in the closet still.
I'll attack the Bone Blade next, and that is a 22.
That I gotta get back to the page with the. That's gonna be a hit.
9.
9 damage. All right.
And last but not least, 15 to hit.
And that's one of the adults in the closet.
Yes, sir.
The one that was just pummeled by Fenris's hammer, or the one that was kind of engaged with Quinn.
Let's go with the second one.
All right, and that's how much damage?
Let's roll that right now. 8.
All right. There's this searing red energy as an Astral Bolt burns past your head, Quinn, and slams into the gaunt that's in front of you. Seems to sizzle away some of its flesh, but does not kill it. The Bone Blade is going to close the distance between it and you, Orion. Its blade flashing through the air. And as it draws its blade back, you see it do that where it sort of pulls Astra out of the air and there's a surge of Astra. And that is a 14 to hit.
That's exactly my AC.
So the first strike hits you and deals. Okay. And then, ooh, that's an extra D6 for the surge. So you, oh, man, that just went all the way under my desk. All right, so you take 6 points of slashing damage, and you take another 4 points of force damage as this thing just hits you so hard. And you watch as it slashes across you, as it twists and brings the blade back across for a second attack. It swings across, but as it had struck you the first time, it kind of twisted you a little bit, and it is bringing back its attack to where you were, not where you are. It spins too far and opens itself up to an opportunity attack from you, because that was a critical fail.
Can I use a spell?
Sure.
I'll just Astral Bolt him. I'll attempt to do so, but I won't. 7.
All right, and then there is the 2 adult gaunts. The one who just got smashed by Fenris is going to attempt to lash out at Fenris. Fenris, you notice as it where you struck it with this hammer, you can actually see some of the bones knit together a little bit as it lunges towards you. But it's like it's kind of buttoned up against the hammer and just slashing out at the open air. And the other one is going to attack Quinn. And that is a 15. That hits.
15 is my AC, yes.
And I didn't do the surge, so you're just going to take 3 points of slashing damage as it rakes its claws across your chest, finding purchase through the soft parts of the armor. And that takes us to Fenris.
So, Fenris is going to fierce attack the one that he messed up a minute ago. And I rolled a nat 20 on my first one, so.
So, just go ahead and tell us how you kill this gaunt.
So this one, I just kind of, this one's just a one-handed swing, but I just bring it up as high as I can in this closet and just bring it right down on its head, and then I immediately turn and spin and use my Marauder ability to a two-handed swing at the one that's fighting with Quinn.
All right.
So a fierce attack, which will be a 23.
That hits.
And it does 14 points of damage.
How do you kill this one?
Again, this one, it's just kind of right in the back of its head, like right where the skull meets the neck. And I just smash down, and you can just hear bone snapping, and as it just kind of just collapses down. How far is the bone thing?
The bone blade is now within 10 feet of you.
Okay, so I'm going to use my movement to move towards it, and then I'm going to use my action surge. And as I'm moving there, as I'm walking over to it, I just kind of like crack my neck, and I wave my hand over the hammer and use my bonus action for my energy weapon, which imbues the red Astra into my hammer. And I'm going to fierce attack, two-handed swing, and a 21.
That's going to hit.
And 16 points of bludgeoning damage.
Nice.
It now has advantage against me if it attacks me.
So, as Fenris just suddenly seems to go almost berserk, but in a controlled way, just takes out first one gaunt, and as he slams his hammer into that second gaunt that was close quarters engaged with you, Quinn, you are sprayed with the blood as this thing's head disintegrates and then drops dead in front of you. And with barely a second look, Fenris is marching past you and marches past you as well, Orion, and just slams his hammer solidly into this bone blade. And we are back at the top. All that remains is the bone blade. And it's your go, Quinn.
Okay. So, if I may take Chad's much better suggestion of an action, which may have happened last turn, and since I only pulled one blade, could that be the weapon in my main hand and the pistol the weapon in my offhand?
Sure.
I'm just gonna leave it at that, since I already had the pistol. So as Quinn kind of, turns her head to look after Fenris, she kind of feels her way to the pistol, lifts it, and shoots as my bonus action. Shoots the bone blade with the pistol, and I have combat focus, so I'm allowed to add my ability modifier to the damage bonus if I hit. Oh my god, I've rolled so poorly all session. That's gonna be a 12 to hit.
That is not going to hit the bone blade.
Okay, so the shot goes wide. She kind of curses under her breath, and then I'm gonna use my movement to kind of get up from my crouch, at this point, and just cursing under my breath. I'm gonna just twirl the short blade and head towards the bone blade and just kind of jam the sword, or try to, under its rib cage. Let's see if this works. Oh no, that's still a 12. Oh my god.
Around you, your companions may begin to question any claims you had of battle prowess. Cursed, you have just witnessed all of this happening. And actually, Chad brings up a good point, because I know you mentioned you forgot about it before. You do have points of inspiration when you miss these shots.
I keep forgetting about that. I had 2 points of inspiration. I could have turned this turn around.
Before I move off to the other one, I will allow you to re-roll, spend a point of inspiration and re-roll that sword attack.
Okay. Natural 1. I would just like to point out the fact that I picked the same specialization as Fenris. I'm also a marauder. I think I'm the runt of the litter or something.
It's the dice evening out.
The bone blade, that's, as you go to slice at it, it just takes its blade and deflects your blade away from it. Cursed, you're watching all of this happen. The attacks, the all of the gaunts being destroyed, Fenris suddenly dominating, Quinn kind of looking like somebody playing at soldier who's never actually fought before. Orion seems to be pretty good, Astra manipulator, and you're 20 feet away across the room. What are you going to do? Actually, give me a perception check again real quick.
Yeah. It's a 12.
Something catches your eye to what would be your left, which is where that north door on the east wall was. The one that Fenris had previously pointed out reads, and I forgot what it said, Astra Collection, or Astra... Mainframe was the lower one.
Astra Chamber?
Astra Chamber.
Astra Banks.
Astra Banks, thank you. I should really write this stuff down when I say it. That door is partially open, and you can see glowing light from inside. You see the spectrum. You see a shifting pattern of red, blue, green, yellow, violet, orange, kind of shifting in that room. And it's just catching your eye. So, what would you do?
She looks over at the fight, and with the exception of Quinn, everyone looks to be like they're handling themselves very, very well. And she is sure that Fenris and Isaiah will both support Quinn if she needed it. But she is really drawn to this light. And she's going to go and check it out.
So you're able to move into the room, and you see a room that is about 15 feet deep and about 10 feet across from north to south. And the walls in all of this area seem to extend up about 15 feet. And in here, you see all along the walls these thick glass tubes kind of partially embedded in the bulkhead. They're 3 feet in diameter, and they seem to have what almost looks like liquid Astra, the way it's moving around. And you see the yellow Astra, you see the green and the blue and the red, but you also see purple and orange. You see a light blue Astra. You even see a pink Astra in these different chambers. There's control panels all around, underneath all of these Astra banks. You have all of this is just within the 6-second scope of your turn. What would you do as you take this site in?
She would keep her ears open for any sound of anything going wrong with the fight, but she would begin to look at these panels to try and just decipher them.
Give me a technology check.
It's a 14.
So you can kind of, while you can't necessarily read the labels and on all of the control panels and the readouts, you can tell that this system seems to be somehow, however this vessel is drawing Astra from the surrounding areas, it's collecting it. Seems to be in some cases combining it. And you start to get the sense that there are controls that will allow the disbursement of Astra through these tubes or systems. And it seems to be some kind of collection and delivery system. But that's about all you're able to ascertain in these few seconds as we bounce down to Orion.
I would like to have him use his Fade Push ability to, as an action, increase my Astra Fade by 1 to heal 1d6 of hit points as I kind of siphon off the Astra energy that is enveloping the Bone Blade's blade on its arm.
All right. What's your Fade limit?
My limit is 4, and I just go to it right now.
Okay.
And when I do so, I'm going to use a bonus action to activate my Limit Enhancer. I will now have advantage on saving throws made to avoid or resist spells. When I'm casting a spell, I can do 1 single free boost, and I have resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. And that would look like Red Astra erupting across his body and wreathing him in like molten energy as he reaches his limit of his Astra, and his body is just like Dragon Ball Z's got like an aura of Astra just surrounding him, giving off power.
Very cool. Is that your action to do the heal?
Action was the heal, yeah, and then bonus action.
All right.
On my limit.
And it is then the Bone Blade's turn. And it is going to surge again with its blade as it attempts to strike at you with both of its attacks. I was so cocky about these dice that I did not get any other dice out. But you know what? I take that back. I've got my box here that has 3 d20s in it. I'm going to use my copper and my Atcon D20. And those two are going to be used against you. Both attacks simultaneously. Son of a... The Atcon die is a 10 total. That's a 5 on the die. As this thing slashes at you. And it's almost as if this crackling, surging Astra coming off of you seems to almost repel it. And then it brings it up rather than around and drives it downward in a almost directly downward slash. And that's a 24 to hit. And you are going to take... That's 1d6 plus 1d6. So you're going to take 8 points of slashing and 3 points of force. But I think you cut that down to 4 points of slashing now, correct?
Correct.
As these twin blades, or this blade makes twin strikes against you. And It is now Fenris's turn.
Sorry, can I ask something? Was the bone blade in melee range with Orion?
Yes.
Okay, because he was also in melee range with me, and I just wanted to make sure.
The bone blade wasn't in melee range with you, unless you moved up to it.
I did move up to it to attack it with the sword.
With the sword, yeah.
Oh yeah. So you, Fenris, and Orion are all three, but Orion's the one that just dumped a whole bunch of Astra into the area.
Yeah, I know. I was under the impression that Orion was maybe further away, and that's why I asked. But it's thanks.
No, he had been right up on it because he had gotten an opportunity attack previously.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yep. So Fenris, you're up.
So Fenris is just gonna keep swinging two-handed with this with his hammer. I'm going to fierce attack again, which says 23.
Hit.
And that's going. What is that? I got my 17 points of damage.
Lord. Okay. It is still standing. It's just starting. You're chipping away at the carapace of bone that enshrouds it.
Okay, that is my turn.
Okay. And that takes us back to Quinn.
Okay, here we go again. So I'm going to try and just stab my short blade into it again as my main hand attack in action. I switched out all dice. No. So that's a 9 for my action. And as a bonus action, I'm going to try and attack it with the heavy pistol and basically shoot it. Is that going to be with a disadvantage?
Because you're at close range, it is
Yes.
at disadvantage.
Okay. No, that's a 19 and a natural 1. This is just going excellent.
You could use your inspiration point to cancel that out and make it the straight roll and take the 19.
Sure. Okay, let's do that. And this way I'll use all the inspiration points and not forget about them any longer in the future. Thank you for reminding me. So that's gonna be 23 to hit with the
That will hit.
pistol. Okay, so as the sword just misses, she lets out this growl of frustration, just puts the pistol to its face and shoots. Wait, that's a 10. For a measly 4 points of damage.
As you shoot it, a big chunk of bone breaks away from its face, and it's almost like it's a mask, and you can see flesh underneath it, as it's almost like you've chipped away like General Kale getting his skull mask cut away in Willow. And it is now, who was that? That was Quinn. It's Kurt's turn. As you're kind of getting the sense in this room of this Astrobanks, what would you like to do?
So, Curse has kind of ascertained that this is like a send and receive kind of area.
Yeah, it seems like there's a collection and distribution of Astra. There are, in addition to the control panels, you can now, as you're continuing to look over it, you can see some display screens that are in the control panels that are reading out different data, and a couple of them are show what seem to be almost like three-dimensional simulations. They're not actual like video feeds, but they're like CGI simulations One of them that you're looking at shows a it seems to kind of move in this loop as it shows a large sphere with a cross section kind of at an angle that seems like it could represent Bastion, a smaller sphere next to it with a blinking red circle in it, and it seems to kind of repeat as you see it blowing apart and resetting and blowing apart and resetting.
She's looking at all the buttons, she's looking at all this Astra, and she is just itching to touch all the buttons. She knows she should wait, or at least go and help her friends. She's just going to pace for now, just kind of whistling, just kind of trying to distract herself. And she's going to pace back and forth. She's going to pace and maybe kind of take a quick look to see how they're doing, kind of go back in, kind of just waiting for them.
Give me an insight check.
That's a 3.
Okay. And we are down to Orion.
I'm gonna try and do what I can to this guy with Astra Bolt, and I'm gonna boost it for free with my limit enhancer. 18 to hit.
That is going to hit.
Ouch. For 6 force damage. Oops.
How much damage? Sorry.
6.
Okay. As you slam into it, you can see the force of this bolt hitting into it is actually causing several pieces of bone break away from it. Outer parts of the bone start to flake away, almost like paint, and just seem to be cascading off of it. It raises its hand, and it's looking at the three of you that are engaged with it. And you just blasted it. Quinn just shot it. Fenris has taken some swings at it. And I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Orion. It raises its hand. Its other hand, not the one with the bones. Or with the bone blade. And it crunches its fists. And you can hear bone breaking. And see fingers snapping. As it makes a flicking motion. And because you're at close range, that is going to be at disadvantage. And I'm going to mix and match. So, the lower number is a 12, but that's a +5, so that's 17 to hit. Your face was just a quick shifting of emotions. I'm assuming that hits you. As it uses its bone shard attack. And when it flicks, all of these broken finger bones, shards of bone, slash across your face. Which, are you still resistant to that? Okay. So I'm going to roll 2d4, 7, 8, 9. So you will reduce that to 5 slashing damage as shards of bone. And this happens right in front of all of you. As it just basically explodes its fist in Orion's face. Though he doesn't seem to be as hurt by it. And Fenris, you're up.
So Fenris is just, out of his mind swinging this hammer right now. So he's going to take another attack. And that's a 24.
It's a hit.
12 points of damage.
So I'm gonna steal a line from one of my all-time favorite DMs and say, how do you want to do this?
So, as Fenris he's just been kind of oblivious to everything else that's happening. He notices when things have hit this bone blade, but he's been solely focused on what's in front of him, and just all of his energy is going into swinging this hammer. And so he's just, it was the first strike, 2 turns ago was, right to left, and it hit him kind of in the shoulder. The second one came down on from the other direction, and this one he just kind of over his head, just this big overhead swing right into the top of its forehead. And as it collapses, Fenris just collapses with it, just kind of down onto his knees and then back onto his haunches. He's just holding the hammer kind of between his legs, and just as all of that adrenaline flushes out of him, it was the last of what he had in him to take that last swing.
And with that, you are effectively out of combat. There's no sign of Cursed, but Quinn, Fenris, and Orion, you're all three standing right there where the gaunts are dead around you, and the bone blade is shattered at your feet. What are you going to do?
I'd like to kneel down and put a hand on the remains of the bone gaunt and use my siphon ability to raise my Astra by 1, and that'll make me go over by 1 to heal D6.
All right.
And I'll roll on the table for 2. So I heal.
You heal another D4, right?
Yeah, so I heal 5 altogether.
Nice. What about you, Quinn, as Fenris has just destroyed this thing?
Quinn kind of just lets out a heavy sigh, and she just draws a hand over her face and just wipes away the blood that had, splashed on her face when the first gaunt died. And she kind of says, thanks for having my back there, guys. Thanks for that. And then she looks down at Fenris and asks, are you okay? That was amazing.
Fenris just looks up and just nods, but he can't really do anything more than that right now.
Cursed.
Go around for Cursed.
Cursed, what are you doing? Still pacing around the room in there? As you hear the sounds of battle kind of die down?
Yeah, as soon as the sounds of that kind of die down, she thinks to herself, she's like, well, one side won, so she's gonna kind of come out and see them. Or would she see them? Just kind of...
Yeah, you definitely would see them gathered around the dead bodies.
And she would kind of come up to the door and she said, guys, you gotta come see this. This is crazy. She would kind of disappear back into the banks.
All right.
Fenris will just kind of push himself up on his hammer.
Quinn also extends a hand to help you up if you take it.
Yep, he'll reach up and grab your hand and stand up and start to stumble off. Starts to feel a little bit better, but definitely exhausted. So,
are you following them, Orion?
Yeah, he has to take a moment for his adrenaline and his limit enhancer to kind of like wear off, as he's still kind of in in the heat of the moment, and like he says before, he's just getting warmed up, so he was still ready for more to fight, and he's kind of cool down before he catches up with them.
All right, so Quinn and Fenris, you kind of catch up with Kirst in the room, and you see what she saw with the all of the Astra banks and the control panels. What would you like to do? Kirst, I mean, you can explain what you saw or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, she's just kind of going to show them almost like an excited child, just like, oh, look at all this Astra. I didn't even know there was pink Astra. And she's going to look and like just talk and show them all the boards and this kind of simulation thing that she saw. And she said, and you guys should be so proud of me. I didn't touch anything.
Quinn kind of she stops in the doorway in a way that she also sees the room that they've just come from. And as Kirst says that, she turns her head towards Orion and says, you might want to check this out. It looks like you'd like this.
I think he'd already have kind of like a sense, kind of like the hackles on his skin, like hairs on his skin would be kind of like already up. And he'd just nod and kind of smelling his way towards it.
And as you guys are all in there looking, do you actually go in there to look, Orion? Or you stay out there just with that sense? I don't want to make you go in. I mean, you don't have to go in there. Sorry. I didn't want it to sound like I'm putting you in the room against your will.
I
promise I'm not going to just kill you guys once you get in the room. Come on, go.
Yeah, he would join his party. Yeah.
So as you guys are looking around, I want Quinn, Fenris, and Isaiah to make tech checks. As you're just looking around at all the tech.
19.
Choose to fail.
8.
Fenris, much like when you were looking at the words and you could just read them, you seem to have an understanding, almost an innate understanding of how the system works. And you can tell which buttons and control panels will control the various Astra tanks. What is intake and what is outlet. The various systems that will allow venting internally and externally of the various types of Astra. And as you're looking at these kind of three-dimensional simulations, give me, and you see this one that's repeating the what looks like a simulation of Verloren repeatedly exploding and going back together, exploding and going back together. Give me an insight check.
13.
This doesn't come as easy to you, but as you stare at it, it's almost like you can comprehend vaguely at first, but then it sort of starts to clarify in your mind as you realize that this system, much like the Envoy told you, this system will allow you to flood Astra all through a single channel that will essentially, it's a system that's designed to home in on the beacon that you passed through that was launched into the heart of Verloren so long ago. And it seems like this system, or at least this part that you're in, is part of the system that's used to home in and could even be what directed Harbinger to Bastion in the first place. And you realize that this system will allow you to backflood the channel and overload the beacon, disintegrating it. but it's going to have two consequences. One, when it disintegrates, it will shatter ancient Verloren in much the way Harbinger did. And two, depending on the position within the time rifts, if you do this, there will be no beacon present to draw Harbinger to Bastion. There will be no way to get to Bastion and the known orbits.
Guys. He's just kind of looking down. Says, we have to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. That's your QJ.
I was just waiting to see if anybody had any real character reactions to that. But so yeah, as Fenris says, we have to reduce the polarity of the neutron flow, and you all just kind of look at him. The alarm goes off. The familiar shuddering takes place, and once again the ship shifts, and all around you the lights stop blinking. Control panels go out. And all of the Astra banks drain except for two, which are flooded with red Astra. And all of the readouts on the display are showing, and Fenris is the only one that can see this, is that the control panel is basically reading that you can initiate the beacon, you can detonate, or you can backflow the neutrinos, or what did you say?
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flow.
Reverse the polarity of the neutrons. I feel like I'm supposed to know that reference, and I'm not getting it.
I mean, it's only Doctor Who and Star Trek, but hey.
Okay, well, I'm not as big of a Whovian. As Fenris hears this faint sound in the back of his mind that sounds like a TARDIS materializing. But as you see those readouts, I want everybody to give a perception check.
$11.
20.
13.
Fenris, you're seeing all of these readouts, and you're kind of looking at this, and you're looking up at the tanks, and you're the only one that sees in the now red astroglow of this chamber, the tentacles that emerge from the shadows and begin to encircle the Astra tanks. And you're the only one that sees as what looks like a dozen glistening purple eyes suddenly light up above the Astra tank in the shadow. And that is where we're going to end for tonight.
It's a kraken.
They're small tentacles. So yeah, first of all, thanks for rolling with that, guys. I didn't realize how long we had gone. Normally we run these for about 2 or so hours. This one went for almost 3. So I kind of got caught up in the heat of the moment. So I want to thank all of you for, again, continuing to play in this campaign and let me twist and manipulate your characters around within the Harbinger. So I would like to... I also want to thank the audience as well, of course, for the people that tuned in during this game. Every Sunday night at 8 p.m., except when we don't. There's still at least 1 more, possibly 2 more sessions left in this mini campaign. And so far, everybody's making it. So I'm going to go around to each of you and go ahead and tell us where we can find you and any thoughts you had on tonight's session. And we're going to start with Chad.
Hello. You can find me, correspond with me down here on, Twitter, and then Facebook. I'm just one of many millions of Chad Smiths, but you can find me somehow. And YouTube as well, same name. You can find me in Absolute Tabletop group. Check it out if you haven't yet. Come join us over there. Get in some games like this for yourself. Host some. We got a great community, all different kinds of games. I'm gonna roll some dice with us. And I don't know if you wanted thoughts and feelings, but that was crazy. Bones like changing age before us, going back in time, forward in time. It's pretty cool. I haven't really had that kind of element in any kind of role-playing game I've played, so it's pretty cool to have experienced that for the first time and still experiencing it, and to see where this roller coaster is going to take us. So thank you all for that.
Awesome, thank you. Megan.
I really love these kind of games where I don't understand what's going on, but I feel like there's so many things just under the layer that are under layers that are just ready to be found out and to be kind of discovered. So that's really awesome, really cool. And I'm a huge fan of like the time shifts, time anomalies, all that. So I'm having a super fun time with this campaign and with these players. So yeah, awesome. Another great session.
Dwight.
Yeah, agree here. As much fun as it was smashing things with my hammer, the most fun I had tonight was just just role playing that character and being able to get into that backstory and have those situations where things are happening that are going to affect the character, more than just and again, I've spent the last 4 or 5 years since I started playing D&D and variations being much more about the fighting and the murder hobo-ness than about the characters. And it's just really cool to get into why these characters are doing what they're doing. Even within the fights, we got to do that with the Gaunt kids, fighting something that's going to affect this character. So how do you play that? So that's what's really been pretty awesome for me. So looking forward to the last couple of sessions here, session or two. So and you can find me again. The thing down below has links to all my other pages and stuff. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Dwight. And last but not least, Alexa.
So despite everything, tonight's session was really fun for me, mainly because I got to watch all these characters perform around me, and it was really fun and interesting to see more of them in character as well as a player. And I would like to see more, and I'm sorry that we're kind of drawing to an end here, and I don't know if I'll get to see their full stories, or I won't get to see them develop their characters more. So it was fun for me to see what happened around me, and it's kind of weird that Quinn had that realization at the start of the episode, all heroic and stuff, and then she just failed at everything. And I have to think about how to incorporate that going forward, and as much as we have left. So I already know what my choices are going to be next, but I don't know what you're going to throw at us. So I don't know if I'll get to use those decisions and choices. So I have to find out. And in the meantime, you can find me at Blue Alexa on Twitter and Twitch, and we play stuff.
And
Thanks.
I love playing this kind of game where I'm basically just putting situations in front of you. And serving the story up to a certain degree, but this is very much a cooperative thing where I'm feeding off of the things that you guys are giving me, and putting things in there to let you, play out your characters. And I love that this group of characters is all about. I'm trying to think of how my character would react next, or what I would do next. Not about what weapon or ability will I use next. It's about you're thinking in the headspace of these characters, and I love that. And I'm glad, in particular, Dwight, that you're really getting what you're getting out of this, because I know this was a big thing for Dwight to be able to, as he said many times, to be able to get out of that dice rolling murder hobo approach to actually role playing. So thank you to all of you just for being awesome, and that we can be together to tell this story together and see how it ends up in the next 1 or 2 episodes. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up, put it to bed. I'm Jake from Mini Terrain Domain. You can find me on Twitter at mtd_Jake, and of course on Twitch and YouTube's at Twitch or YouTube / Mini Terrain Domain, where I do Dungeon Terrain and I run a whole bunch of games. And if you're watching on Twitch, you can give us a follow to be notified when new games come up. Or I know for a lot of people it just reset recently. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free subscription with Amazon Prime to any channel you want to on Twitch, and it doesn't cost you anything, and it helps out affiliates and partners. So think about that if you want to think about subscribing. So with that, we will end our stream as we end all of our streams with a good and hearty and
Mid-da.